There's a reason she stopped texting first, a reason she acts like she doesn't care. And it has nothing to do with how nice you were and everything to do with how predictable you became. Most men think that by staying available, consistent, and open, they'll win her attention. But the truth is brutal. Availability kills desire. She doesn't miss comfort. She misses tension. She misses uncertainty. She misses that silent pull when you're not trying to prove anything. You were always there. She never had to wonder. So her mind never had a reason to circle back. But that changes today, because there's a way to move, to shift, to pull your energy back without saying a word that makes her question everything. Not out of manipulation, but because you finally stopped giving her what she didn't value. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to become the man she can't stop thinking about. Not because you chased her, but because you finally made her feel your absence. Number 1, emotional absence triggers female obsession. She doesn't miss you when you text her first. She doesn't miss you when your name lights up her screen 3 times a day. She doesn't even miss you when you tell her you still care. She starts to miss you the moment she feels you slip away. Not in anger, not in drama, but in silent emotional detachment. Imagine this. She looks over and you're sitting on the edge of the bed, not pleading, not chasing, just still. Present in body, absent in energy, focused on something deeper than herself. And for the first time, she can't read you. That's when it begins. Women don't obsess over closure. They obsess over confusion. An emotional absence, it's the most confusing thing you can radiate. It creates space where control used to live. Psychologically, women seek resonance. They tune into your emotional frequency, then mirror it. But when you go quiet, not cold, not cruel, just centered, she feels unbalanced, not because you're punishing her, but because the certainty she built her attraction on has vanished. She says she's just tired, but your gut knows better. She's watching, she's calculating, she's waiting for a sign that you still need her. This is the trap most men fall into. They sense her pulling back, so they respond by leaning in, talking more, checking in, and reassuring. And every time they do that, they kill the polarity that once drew her in. Because what draws a woman in is not attention, it's a disruption. When you were silent, stoic, pursuing your goals with indifference to her reactions, she chased your presence like fire chases oxygen. But when you began to orbit her emotions, she no longer felt your gravity. So here's the shift. When you feel the emotional drift, don't explain, don't fix, don't fight. Just start removing your emotional availability with calm precision. Start giving her your presence without your energy. Speak less, smile less, share less, but remain centered, grounded, calm. That energy, it's not coldness, it's weight. It makes her wonder what you're thinking, why you're quiet, and who's on your mind. And that wondering is where obsession begins. Because now you're not the predictable man she thought she had. You're a man she has to feel her way through again, like the beginning. You've become a mystery with memory, and memory mixed with mystery is a drug. She walks into a room and your eyes don't chase her. She texts, and you respond when you want, not when you're told. She tests you and you don't flinch. You don't even invoke on. You just are, solid, present, but not hers anymore. And when she feels that presence she once took for granted begins to slip beyond reach. She doesn't get angry. She gets obsessed, not with you, but with the version of herself she became when you pulled away. And in that obsession, she starts chasing again. Not because you pushed her, but because you became emotionally unavailable. And anything rare becomes irresistible. Number 2, magnetic silence, the power of unspoken confidence. She walks into the room and looks at you, expecting something. A glance, a reaction, maybe a subtle shift in your body, but you stay still, calm, unreadable. That's when her mind starts working overtime. Because silence, when held with power, is not emptiness, it's pressure. The average man breaks that silence too quickly. He feels tension, so he fills it with words, with nervous gestures, with apologies that were never asked for. But the man who knows how to hold silence like a blade, he doesn't chase comfort, he controls it. From a psychological view, this works because most women are emotionally fluent. They read people, tone, body language, and micro shifts in behavior. When you go silent, not with anger, but with internal gravity, she can't read the room anymore. She starts to question, did she lose her grip? Did she go too far? Is someone else in his head? Your stillness creates uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds emotional investment. She tells you everything's fine, but her eyes flicker. She laughs too fast. She's asking questions that sound innocent, but feel like scans. This is the unspoken dance. You don't win it by explaining yourself. You win it by withholding what she's used to controlling, your attention. When you go quiet with purpose, your energy says more than your words ever could. Here's why this strategy works. Women are wired to test emotional grounding. They want to know if your calm is performative or real. So when you stop reacting, stop over-explaining, and start becoming unreadable, you place her in an emotional fog she instinctively wants to escape. And the only way out is to move toward you again. Magnetic silence isn't about disappearing. It's about staying visible, but unavailable. Being there, but untouchable. You don't ghost her. You don't play games. You show up, but you don't unfold. It's in your tone. Slower, deeper, fewer words. It's in your eyes, unmoved by her emotional storms. It's in your posture, shoulders back, chest open, face unreadable. You're not reacting. You're listening. You're absorbing without responding. And in that stillness, she hears everything she's not getting. The key is presence without performance. The minute you silence your need to be understood, you become a man she can't stop thinking about. Because mystery beats clarity in the game of attraction. And here's the contrast she can't compute. Every other man she's known overreacts when ignored. Text more, overcompensates. But you text less, you say less, you even smile less. Not because you're cold, but because your self-worth isn't attached to her validation. You don't need to prove you're okay. You are okay. And that quiet confidence creates emotional tension so powerful that she starts craving the very thing she once dismissed. Eventually, she'll break the silence with a test, a light joke, a baiting comment, a delayed message to see if you're still there. That's the moment to remain still. Hold the silence. Let her sit in the space where your attention used to be and realize it's not free anymore. Because when you become the man who's comfortable in silence, you become the man whose energy she starts chasing again. Not because you chased her, but because you refuse to fill the silence with weakness. Number 3, identity shift. Become the man she can't predict. She used to know you, or at least she thought she did. Your patterns were familiar, your responses predictable. Every message got a reply. Every mood swing got sympathy. Every little pullback from her got a surge of effort from you. But then something changed. You didn't fight. You didn't explain. You didn't even react. You just shifted. And that shift, it rewired everything. Because here's what most men never realize. Attraction dies in predictability. If she can map your next move, she's already emotionally bored. She doesn't need to chase you because she's already holding the blueprint. Women are wired for contrast. They crave disruption in rhythm, tone, energy. The moment she senses she has you, she stops feeling you. But when you change tempo, when you disrupt her emotional familiarity, you create magnetic confusion. And confusion breeds curiosity. Curiosity breeds obsession. She doesn't know if you're pulling away or leveling up. And in that fog, her nervous system starts pinging. Not in panic, but in pursuit. She sends a late-night meme, the same kind that used to spark your instant reply. But this time, you leave it unread. That pause, that silence, that calm non-reaction, they're not mistakes, they're micro-signals, clues that the man she thought she had may no longer exist. This goes deeper than behavior. It's not just what you do, it's who you're becoming. You're no longer orbiting her emotional gravity. You've become your sun. Your mornings belong to your discipline, your nights to your craft. You've swapped reaction for sovereignty. You don't react to her energy, you hold your own. Now she's no longer your validation. She's just a variable, That change isn't loud, it's unmissable. You dress better, you move more slowly, you speak with precision. You don't try to be mysterious. You simply stop broadcasting every thought. And she notices. She jokes about the old you. She tests for signs. She probes. But behind every comment is a deeper question. Did I lose access? Because access is what she used to have. To your time, your energy, your emotional availability. And now it's not guaranteed. She's not laughing. She's watching, trying to trace the man you are becoming. This works because the female mind is wired to scan for patterns and panic when the pattern breaks. When you shift identity without collapsing presence, she loses the ability to predict you. And that uncertainty, it pulls her deeper. But here's the key, this can't be a tactic, this has to be real. No delayed replies, not faking distance. A true pivot from chasing connection to chasing mission. You're not ignoring her to manipulate. You're just no longer available on demand because your attention now belongs to your edge. Your schedule is shaped by purpose. Your silence isn't empty, it's full of momentum. And that's what makes her come closer. Because now she's not trying to win a man. She's trying to relearn him. That's how you become unforgettable. Not by saying more, not by doing more, but by evolving so completely that the version she once knew becomes irrelevant. When you become the man she can't predict, you become the man she can't replace. Number 4, purpose over presence. She misses what doesn't wait. She's used to being the center of attention. She's used to seeing you orbit her world, timing your texts around her moods, showing up on demand like a loyal app. And you did, until one day you didn't. You weren't cold, you weren't angry, you were just focused. You were no longer waiting for her energy to validate your own. That shift, the one where you started choosing your mission over her moods, is the beginning of her obsession. Because now you're not reacting to her. You're not trying to fix the distance. You're building something she can't interrupt. And that's when she starts to miss you. Not the man she controlled, but the man she no longer has access to. The male brain finds purpose in production. The female brain finds meaning in emotional presence. So when you remove that emotional presence, not as punishment, but as recalibration, her sense of emotional control fractures. Now she doesn't know where she stands. Now she doesn't know where you are. She used to be able to derail your focus with a single message, but now you leave her on red and go lift. Purpose changes your energy. It changes the way you speak, move, and respond. You're no longer explaining where you are, what you're doing, and why you didn't reply in 3 minutes. You're busy, not performatively busy. Busy. She sees it. You're up earlier. You train harder. You post less. You vanish into real work, not online noise. This isn't game playing, it's gravity building. Because men who have a purpose don't beg for presence. They don't chase calls, likes, or text confirmations. They let their absence create questions that no answer can solve. What happens in her mind? She starts to spiral, not out loud, quietly. She starts comparing. Who has his attention now? Where is he pouring all that energy I used to receive? And that internal conflict isn't born from jealousy, it's born from displacement. You've displaced her as the center of your emotional attention. She's no longer the sun, you are. Women feel safest when they orbit a man grounded in purpose. They may test it, but once they realize his time, energy, and focus cannot be hijacked, they soften. Not immediately. First they resist, then they observe, then they move toward you again, not to control you, but to feel you. The more you disappear into your mission, the more she reappears with questions disguised as casual conversation. She wants to know what changed. She wants to feel close again, but this time she has to rise to your standard to get there. This works because purpose replaces performance. You're no longer trying to win her back with charm. You're winning yourself back through structure, through vision, through execution. This is the quiet shift most men never make. They stay emotionally available, thinking that proves love. But in reality, emotional availability without boundaries equals emotional exposure. And exposed men don't attract feminine curiosity. They provoke it once, then exhaust it. So here's the test. Can you keep building when she pulls away? Can you stay unavailable, not to punish, but to pursue something higher? Because when your life becomes too full to chase distractions, your absence stops being noticed. It becomes felt. She doesn't miss the man who was always there. She misses the man who's not waiting for her anymore. And in that space, your silence becomes louder than any words. Number 5, the pullback principle. Never reward indifference. You feel it first, not in words, but in tone. In her delayed replies, in the way she used to say your name like it meant something, and now says it like a line in a script. Most men panic here. They sense her pulling away and respond by giving more texts, more attention, more vulnerability. But the man who knows the pullback principle, he doesn't lean in. He matches distance with discipline. Here's the psychological truth. Human beings don't value what's guaranteed. We crave what feels earned. And when she starts pulling back, your instinct is to close the gap. But if you reward her emotional withdrawal with more emotional investment, you train her nervous system to equate disrespect with reinforcement. She posts a thirst trap 3 hours after ghosting you. You think it's a coincidence. Your gut says otherwise. She's not confused. She's calibrated. She's checking to see if the leash still fits. And if it does, if you respond, engage, validate, you just rewarded emotional indifference with attention. You just gave her confirmation. I can drift, and he'll wait. Now the frame is gone. The polarity has reversed, and you've become her emotional backup plan, not her priority. But when you stop rewarding distance, the game changes instantly. You don't chase her silence, you mirror it. You don't punish her, you disinvestigate. You don't post revenge content, you build your life offline. Your absence becomes your boundary, not a performance, not a tantrum, a quiet shift in gravity. And the moment she senses that shift, not as strategy but as standard, her emotional system panics. Because now she's the one wondering, did I push too far? She's the one staring at the phone, checking your feed, rereading the last thing you said, because the next one never came. The pullback principle is this: when interest fades, access fades with it. When her tone changes, your energy adapts. Not emotionally, not with resentment, with precision, with awareness, with masculine stillness. That shift, it forces contrast. Most men become louder when they're ignored. You become quieter. Most men seek validation when they're disrespected. You remove it. Most men explain themselves. You vanish from the conversation completely. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you rare. Because the man who doesn't reward indifference becomes unforgettable. Not out of force, but because he's now the one she can't provoke, can't predict, can't emotionally maneuver. And when she finally reaches back out, she will. It won't be with confidence. It'll be with caution, with hesitation, with emotional tension. Because she now remembers that access to you was never unconditional. The power here isn't about control, it's about clarity. You're not punishing her for stepping back. You're just reminding yourself that love without respect isn't love, it's performance. And you don't perform anymore. This principle only works when it's real. Not timed silence, not passive aggression, but a true shift in how much of your energy you allow into spaces that no longer nurture you. She will feel that, because women don't miss the man who begged to stay. They miss the man who disappeared without complaint. And that absence, the one they can't decode, chase, or control, that's what leaves the deepest imprint. You thought making her miss you was about saying the right words. You thought if you gave more, explained harder, stayed softer, she'd finally see your worth. But here's the truth most men learn too late. You don't become unforgettable by giving more. You become unforgettable by becoming untouchable. She won't remember the man who texted back instantly. She won't obsess over the man who begged to be seen. She won't respect the man who stood there, hands out, asking to be chosen. She remembers the silence. She remembers the version of you she couldn't predict. The one who pulled back, not to manipulate, but because you were no longer willing to shrink for love. And in that absence, she saw you again. Not as the man she once knew, but as a man she could no longer reach. You weren't cold. You weren't cruel. You just stopped waiting. There's a moment that breaks a man open, not with noise, but with clarity. He's staring at a message that never came. He's replaying words that meant nothing. And then, he exhales, not in defeat, in peace. That's the shift. That's the real win, because once you master your attention, once you stop giving it to anyone who doesn't earn it, you become the prize. Not by convincing, not by proving, by walking with such calm detachment that her only choice is to chase the ghost of the man she once had and lost. And you don't chase, you build. You don't perform, you embody. You don't wait. She won't miss the man who waited. She'll miss the one who walked away without a word.